It's the Inspired by Joanne show.
Meet your host, certified confidence coach, Joanne Dean, inspiring women on the rise. Welcome to another Faith Chat.
Hello, faith listeners. Welcome to the Inspired by Joanne show, where we're all about faith, forgiveness, and moving forward to live a fulfilled life. Today's faith walker is Lady Tyisha Phillips. Lady Phillips is a loving wife, a wonderful mother, and a true servant of God who finds joy in helping others. She desires to live a life dedicated to making God smile because He has so graciously blessed her with His unmerited favor. Lady Phillips is a native of New Orleans, Louisiana, and relocated after Hurricane Katrina in 2005 to Atlanta, Georgia, where she currently serves alongside her husband, Pastor Jamil Phillips, over the New Members Ministry and as overseers of the Big Brothers, Big Sisters ministry at Changing a Generation Full Gospel Baptist Church. Lady Phillips accepted the Lord at an early age and was licensed as a minister in 2016 and ordained as an elder in November 2019 by Bishop Paul S. and Dr. Deborah B. Morton, where she has enjoyed serving God's people in numerous capacities. She currently works as a multi-site community manager for independent senior living communities, where she has recently received her accreditation as a residential manager from the International of Real Estate Management Organization. Tyisha has a passion for youth and a heart for young adult women. She strives to be an example of a virtuous woman, walking by faith through the power of prayer. Through life's experiences, she has grown into an anointed woman of excellence who allows God to use her to encourage, edify, and empower His people. Let's give a warm welcome for Lady Tyisha Phillips.
Woo! Thank you.
It is such a pleasure to have you on with us today.
I am grateful for being asked. Thank you.
Well, I want to ask you, what fuels your faith?
Really the favor of God is what fuels my faith. Throughout life, we make so many mistakes. Things that we do might not be so pleasing in God's sight, but just how great God has been in my life and has truly blessed me over and over. His blessings are just never ending. So each day, what gives me faith and keeps me going is just God's favor, His gracious favor.
Amen. So today we're talking about leading with love, and congratulations to you on all the things that you continue to do and accomplish. And you recently accomplished another milestone, and we'll talk about that a little bit later in the podcast. But I want to ask you, what does it mean to lead with love?
Leading with love is more like it's a mindset kind of thing. Basically, leading with love, it's just being transparent in how much God has loved us. So it's a matter of pouring that love out to others.
Mm-hmm. So it sounds like God is filling you up and you're pouring that back out.
Basically, that comes from grandparents who prayed, great-grandmother, grandmother, mom. All they did was instill love of God and loving others and all of that. So that's where it comes from.
So that leads me to my next question. What inspired your leadership journey?
My leadership journey in the church, I'd say I actually got into leading in church because I wanted to work with the youth. So growing up, I always wanted to have a family. I loved children. I started babysitting at a young age. So as I grew up, I just always wanted to work with children. So in church, I started working with the youth ministry. And because I was so dedicated and because I worked so hard and loved on the youth so much, they actually made me a leader in the youth ministry. Not something that I asked for. We never asked for leadership roles, or at least I never did. They just saw my dedication, and just, elevation came. I'd say in work, I didn't necessarily look for leadership roles in work because I was afraid. I would say that someone saw potential in me and pushed me out there, actually. So in work, I started off as an administrative assistant, and someone suggested, why don't you go to try to apply to work on site? And from there, I just worked hard. My work ethic was really, really strong. So that's where that came from.
Wow, and what I'm hearing is that your gift has definitely made room for you.
Oh, yes. Yes. I think I might have gotten that work ethic from my grandmother. She was always hard. And you know what? She wasn't, as I was younger, she wasn't working out just that she was always cooking, cleaning, caring for everyone else. So that's where I got that from. And as she got older, that's when she started working hard out in the world and stuff like that. But yeah, growing up, I just have always been pushed to just be the best, do the best you can, and work hard, basically. So cooking, cleaning, caring for others, that's where it came from. And then that just transferred into my work. And so hardworking, that's all it. And I never did it for attention or for praise. It was just the work needed to be done. And I knew that I knew how to do it. And if I didn't know how to do it, I found out how to do it. So that's what the elevation just came after that.
I'm hearing this amazing sense of community that has surrounded you. You have taken what was poured into you, and you're now serving the world with that. And so as I lead into this next question, congratulations on baby Jackson. So talk a little bit about how or if having baby Jackson has impacted the way that you lead now.
Well, baby Jackson came as a surprise to us. So I would say I did want another baby. I actually wanted a girl. I have two older boys. My boys are now 20 and 16. I have a 20-year-old and a 16-year-old, and now I have this new baby boy. Like I said, I've always worked so hard and always had my hands everywhere, working in ministry, working in work, and sometimes I would bring work home. So as far as the impact that the baby has had on my life would be to slow down. Mm-hmm. Basically, I had to slow down, take my hands out of some things, which was perfect for this pandemic to hit during this time, because I had no other choice but to stay at home, relax, and care for the baby, which was very, very, or has been very rewarding. With my oldest son, this is my second marriage. With my oldest son, I was married to his father, and I was a stay-at-home mom, and I got to enjoy that. But then with my second son, I was divorced, I was single, and I was right back out to work. So I didn't. So that 20 years ago was the time that I actually enjoyed being, had that time of being a mom, stay-at-home mom. And with my second son, it was get out there. You got to be superwoman. And now with my new baby boy, I get to sit back, relax, and be a mom. Even though I'm working here, I'm churching there, but mom is my main focus.
Mm-hmm. What is it like being a boy mom?
Well, I would say being a boy mom so I've been told it's easier than being a girl mom. I did want my third baby to be a girl, but I was so happy when it turned out to be a boy. I figured that it would be much easier. I knew what I was doing already. That was one thing I knew what I was doing. And then the girl, and I had to think back to when I was growing up being a girl, and I think being a boy mom was much easier. One thing I had to do is be hard but soft Those are some things that I had to balance those because, I can't be too soft on my boys, but I can't be too hard. You don't want them to grow up being with women because everything that I do with them are the things that they're looking for in a woman. And honestly, that happens. It's not something that we try to make happen, but that just happens. They go out and that's that type of woman that they end up with.
Right.
So I try to be nurturing, but not too nurturing, loving, but not too, hugs, but hugs and kisses. That's me. I love loving, but I have to, balance with them. So when I get home from work, I'm always asking them, how's your day going? Because open communication is me. I had to understand that boys don't communicate as much as girls communicate. So I had to make them open up to me. So I would come home and I would ask them, how was your day? And they would, oh, fine, good. And that's the end of, no, I want you to go from top to bottom, piece by piece, give me everything that happened, math class, English class, science, lunch. What did y'all have for lunch today? I want the full details of it. And I wanted that with everything that they did. Every time they went out, I want full details. And that's one thing I did have to watch because my mother was overprotective of me. And I was, and I still am, overprotective of my boys, but I have to watch that because I can't be too overprotective of them. So when they're going out, I have to understand, that I have to trust them. Number one, I have to trust them. I have to let them grow up, loosen my hold on them. And with my new marriage, my husband came in and he had to get me to let go. He's like, okay, you can't hold on so tight. Otherwise they won't be able to learn and grow on their own. And it's so funny, as they grew up, I started realizing they enjoyed that maturity. They enjoy that growing up. They enjoy doing it on their own. And I would be bothered at the fact that my youngest boy, he would not ask me to do anything for him. I was like, okay, you want me to open up such and such? You want me to cook this for you? No, he's good. I'm like, oh, goodness, I can't be a mom anymore. So they grow up so fast. And then I have my new baby boy, so I get to experience it all over again.
Wow, it sounds like you're an amazing mom and that you have found this rhythm. And so that leads me to my next question. Like, how do you find the harmony between home and work and ministry?
Well, I had to learn to stop mixing them. Most importantly, work stays at work. I used to bring work home all the time. And I realized that was getting in the way of me helping children with homework and, working with them. In ministry, because me and my husband work in ministry together, got to make sure we don't bring ministry home. The only reason we would actually bring that home, I say bring it home, but not get it mixed in with our personal life. Basically, ministry is ministry. Love, family, that's something different. So everything is, as long as everything is in its place and we don't mix the three of them together. One thing I know, work is the biggest one. I have to make sure I leave that in that box. So can't bring work home at all. I really had to learn that because I was a workaholic. My husband would say I would come home and be on the computer till 8-9 o'clock at night. And that would cut into our time, basically.
Right.
So, but like I said, being a mom, being a wife and mother, those have always been at the top of my list. It's from childhood. I always wanted a family. So with work, bringing that home, that of course got in the way. So once I put that to the side, I loved coming home to my family, talking with my family, cooking for my family. So, right now I'm in a wonderful place.
So can you share, like, what was something that helped you to shift, to go from being a workaholic to being able to put the value on the time that you spend with your family?
Well, I would have these, I'll call them, my close friends know it as a peas moment. So I was at one time I was going, doing, working, all of this and it was like a tornado from time to time. So I would have to sit back, relax, have a nice bubble bath, a glass of wine. I would just chill by myself, candles. And those were my times of, I had a really hard week or something like that. So now this is my time to relax. Well, for a while, I wasn't doing that. I wasn't taking care of me. It was all about everything else out there. So, my grandmother passed away in 2016, in November 2016. And in the midst of everything that was happening, my grandmother passed away. Now, I was practically raised by my grandmother. My mother had me when she was 15. So my grandmother was my big inspiration. She really took care of me. I am my grandmother's child, basically. People say I have my grandmother's spirit. Well, when she passed away, it didn't hit me hard. I cried, stuff like that. It hurt, but it didn't hit me hard until, what's so funny, maybe a couple weeks later, I was cooking some sweet peas on the stove, went upstairs, and I forgot about the sweet peas. Came downstairs and the peas had burned. The kitchen was smoking. It didn't catch fire or anything, but it's just that this pot, the smell, the smoke and everything. My husband went down there. He was like, "Tyisha, what are you doing? You forgot the peas on the stove." And I walked in the kitchen and I broke down crying. Everything just came down at one time. So that's why we call it a peas moment. It's like my breakdown. So I have to make sure that I never get to that point. So I make sure that I take time for me. Those bubble baths, the just relaxing. And my husband has gotten to the point where he recognizes she's stressed out and he'll take everything from me. So he'll say, "No, stop what you're doing. Sit down, relax, don't do anything." And he's had to make me understand, "Tyisha, you don't have to do everything. If you don't feel like doing something, you don't have to. Sit down. When you get home, just sit down and relax. You don't have to, even if you do want to cook, first sit down and relax." And I just had to learn how to just relax and realize you don't have to be superwoman all the time. It's okay to just take 10. So that's how I was able to keep everything centered.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that. And sorry about the loss of your grandmother. And that's definitely something that we have in common. I'm my grandmother's child. She raised me. She transitioned in January of 2018. And so like you, initially, it didn't hit me either. It was a couple of weeks later that it hit me. And it's interesting that you share the peas story, right? Because peas was one of her favorite things. And so when I want to feel close to her, I'll make me some peas.
Wow. That is amazing.
So that might sound silly to some people, but something that simple, it brings me joy.
Cooking was one thing that she loved doing, and I love doing it. And there's certain recipes. What's so funny is, as close to her as I was, I enjoyed more of her, more eating her food. But then when we get older, my sister, who's 7 years younger than me, my sister like clung to her recipes, and when she makes banana pudding and sweet potato pie, and it tastes exactly like my grandmother's. I'm like, it is like it from scratch, original. It's so good. And I'm like, I'm so glad that you got that. And so for holidays, come and make me some banana pudding. Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. What great memories you have of her.
Yep. Yeah.
Amazing. So talk a little bit about work. I know recently you got promoted. So talk a little bit about what it was like to receive the ARM Community Manager.
Okay. So ARM stands for Accredited Residential Manager. And it's basically you have been accredited to be a manager of residential properties. And I would say working so hard just paid off. Basically, someone saw my potential and said, "You should do this. It's time for you to better yourself, or to get these initials behind your name." Basically, it's like, okay, I've worked so hard. went through the chains of leasing, then assistant manager, acting manager. What's funny is I was an acting manager when managers would leave, and then when a new manager would come in, I would have to train those managers. That was the crazy thing. So then it was time for me to step out there and really realize, hey, it's time for you to walk in it, basically. So yeah, I would say that the next step would be the CRM. That's what it is. CRM. Certified, basically certification.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So I'll be doing that next.
Wow. So what did that feel like?
It just makes you feel a little more skilled, basically, as far as on paper. Basically, honestly, I'm still doing the same job. I'm still working just as hard. It's just that, honestly, on paper, it's people see, oh, she knows what she's doing.
It's a validation.
Yeah, basically, yes. That's what it is. It's just a matter of validating. Oh, okay, she is who she says she is.
Yeah, gotcha. So talk a little bit about what challenges you faced as it related to pursuing your career.
Let's see. You know what? Let's start from the beginning of when I became an administrative assistant. In the housing, property management, and I actually had to change my name on the resume. So instead of using Tyisha, I used T. Maureen Thompson. So the challenge was I didn't want people to see that name Tyisha and look at me in a different manner. I mean, no pun on my mother who gave me the name. I mean, I carry it well now, but it's just that on a resume in corporate America, you have to be careful with the type of name that you put out there. So I didn't want anyone to question my skills based on my name. I'd say, and another thing was the fact that I did not get my college degree. That was another problem. I've been trying to get, and I'm still trying to get it. But I started at UNO. I took some classes at Delgado, and this is in New Orleans. And then I came out here to Georgia, and at the time I was a single mother, so I was taking classes at DeKalb Technical College, and then got married, and I went to taking classes at Clayton State. So now I'm still taking classes at Clayton State. Now, right for this time, parenting, I'm out of school right now, so I intend to go back for the spring again. But I do plan on pursuing that and getting my degree. So that's one thing that has been challenging. So my on-the-job training has been what has actually pushed me.
I was about to say, it still sounds like you're where you're supposed to be.
Right. In
even
spite of the degree.
Yes, absolutely. So your steps are definitely ordered, is what it sounds like. What words of encouragement would you offer a young woman who is feeling like she is not sure about her purpose?
Love yourself. Love yourself first, and love comes from within. My mother always taught me to respect myself first. And then others would respect me. And I was just talking to my husband about that. What life lessons did your parents instill in you that you will keep with you forever? So that's one thing that I've always had a desire to see other women thrive and grow and love on themselves and just be happy and have true joy. And we realize that we're so busy worrying about other people that we don't love ourselves. We don't take time for ourselves. And I know we say it all the time, but it's true. And people are still doing it. And women are still neglecting themselves. And it's just, you have to get to know yourself, spend time with yourself, love you. And that will help you to find out who you're meant to be. As you continue to walk in your life journey, God will open up the doors that you want opened. So even if even if those aren't the doors that he meant for you to walk in, he works everything out for our good anyway. So that's one thing I would say. I in spite of the doors that I walked through that he might not have wanted me to walk through, I learned things through the way, and I finally got to this place. So it's taking some wrong turns along the way, but I finally ended up in this place.
I love it. I love it. Lessons and blessings.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
Yeah. What's your favorite scripture?
Favor is deceitful and beauty is vain, but a woman that feareth the Lord, she shall be praised. It is Proverbs 31:30. And it's just the fact that I've always put God first. It's always been about him doing his will, and just being pleasing in his sight. And then there's a scripture in Romans that is, nothing shall separate me from the love of God. Romans 8. I'm not sure exactly what verse it is, but I know it's Romans 8. I did a sermon on it. But that's one thing. Those two things play hand in hand. I fear the Lord, meaning I respect him. Everything that I do is for him. Everything that I do in church, work, family is just to glorify God. And on the other hand, with that, nothing shall separate me from his love. In spite of what I do, in spite of where I go, no one will get in the way of my relationship with God, because it's him that I'm living for.
Thank you. Is there anything else you want our listeners to know?
God, continue to encourage yourself. That is so important to me. Encourage yourself, even when things look bad, look down, in spite of the struggles that you're going through. Just encourage yourself. Continue to encourage yourself. The more you lift you up, the more you'll be raised, honestly, because each time that you're pushed down, if you continue to believe that you're going to come up, you will. Walk it until or act as if until it actually transpires.
Thank you so much, Tyisha. How can our listeners connect with you and support you?
I am on Instagram as at Tyisha Phillips. On Facebook at also Tyisha Phillips. And those are ways to find me. I'm on Twitter, Tyisha Phillips, TYISHAPHILLIPS.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having this faith chat with me today. It has been a pleasure.
Thank you so much for having me. It has been wonderful just being here.
Thank you. Until next time, continue to walk by faith. Be blessed.
Amen. Thank you. Be blessed.
Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe and click the notification bell for new content. Leave a comment or simply introduce yourself. I'd love to say hi. Until next time, continue to walk by faith. Take care.